Hello, everyone. This interview is being conducted by Tanika Charles, and I will be interviewing Mrs. Valencia Alex. So, Miss Valencia, can you tell me how old is your son?
He is 7 years old.
Okay. So, the first thing is, do you consent to this interview? It's only going to be used for class, and it will be sent to my instructor for only class use. So, do you consent to that?
Sure.
Okay. My first question to you is, how do you perceive that you've made adjustments in how you provide parental guidance and discipline to your school-age child now as opposed to how you did so when he was 2 years old younger than he is now?
So, how did I discipline him when he was 5 versus 9?
Like, the adjustments, like the parental guidance and stuff.
I guess when he was 5, I was a little more lax with the behavior in the discipline. I would do a lot of talking to him, but now that I think and feel that he knows better, there are more consequences.
Okay. My second question is, what ways have you observed your child is feeling successful than others, his age in acquiring new skills, and in what ways have you observed he might be feeling less successful than others in his age group?
I feel that he is feeling successful in his age group by the way he interacts with his peers. If he knows them, he's very friendly and outgoing. However, I notice if he doesn't know them, he is reluctant and shy.
So, what do you, or how do you help him to cope with those inner feelings for those that you don't know?
He's in karate. That's to kind of help him to be more outgoing and whatnot. And I just try to talk to him to let him know that these are his friends and it's okay for him to try to make new friends and he doesn't have to be afraid or shy.
Okay.
So I just try to encourage him.
Okay. What responsibilities do you feel comfortable giving to your school-age child now that you would not have when he was in kindergarten?
Well, now he's pretty responsible for all his things. He puts his clothes in the washer, he fixes his bed, and he cleans up his whole room. So when he was 5, I would assist him in doing those things, but now he can do it solely by himself, and he also takes care of his pet fish.
Okay. So how did you get him to be able to be more independent rather than being dependent on you for at a
It
young
was
age
a
of
little
7?
modeling, but then his first grade teacher advised me to allow him to be more independent and not do so much for him. So as I begin to take her advice and allow him to do more for himself, he just became better and better, and now he functions independent for the most part.
Okay. Please describe the behavior problems you are currently experiencing with your school-age child and talk about how they are not different than before he or she started school.
Well, my son has not really exhibited any behavior problems at school. Occasionally, he will get in trouble for talking when he shouldn't have. And when that does happen, if he gets a conduct mark, I usually just talk to him and advise him to do better the next day. And if it happens again, then I'll tell him what the consequence will be. But usually, he hardly ever gets in trouble at school.
Okay. Referencing a child with special needs, whether your own child or one of your another family member, friend, or acquaintance, how do you perceive that the challenges of parenting that child are different or the same as others in this age group?
I feel that it's different for the parents because it has been my experience that parents with children with special needs tend to um, babyfy them because they assume because the child may have a mental illness or a physical impairment that they have to go easy on them. So that has been my experience where they kind of act out because they're not being held accountable.
Okay. And just based on what you know, what resources and assistance are available to assist parents of children with special needs?
There is Families Helping Families. We also have a developmentally delayed organization. There's also the Autism Society, Cadence of Acadiana. There's lots of resources available.
Okay. Based on your own experiences, how is parenting school-aged children and families where mothers work full-time jobs differ from those in which moms do not? Because I know yourself, you work full-time, and then soon you're going to be going back to school to complete your master's. So how can it be different from those that don't?
It can be different in the capacity that you're not able to be there for your child at certain school functions. But, and I guess for some parents, depending on the type of work they do and the amount of hours they commit to, they aren't as present in their child's life academically as far as helping and being able to assist with homework. So, I think that's a major difference, like how much they're going to invest in their child versus, they do have to work, but their child should be valued as well, or the educational side of it.
Right. And how does that factor have impact on each one of other family members?
The impact could be favorable or not. Favorable if the child doesn't feel neglected or unattended to, and then obviously if the child feels neglected or unattended to, then we may start to see some bad behaviors being exhibited at school and at home.
I know you have an older daughter, and I know with her being older and preparing to go to college, I know she's able to help and with help maintaining your son, making sure he's up for school if you're not able to get him up, when you're up, getting up. How does the extra help from an older sibling helps you along with help him as well?
Well, actually, I don't receive much assistance from my older kids. I've always taken the responsibility that my son is my son, so they're only as an as needed basis. So when they are there to help, it can be helpful. But for the most part, I handle things on my own.
Okay. Bullying has emerged as a major cultural topic within families of school-aged children over the last decade or so. How has the topic arisen within your own family? And if so, how have you dealt with the issue?
Well, all my kids know that bullying is not acceptable. We have discussed this. We have a dialogue about what's appropriate, inappropriate as it relates to day to day, how they interact with people at school, over the internet. So it's an ongoing dialogue, and it is not tolerated.
So, some parents don't know how to take the pressures of their child being bullied. So what if your child came home and said, Mom, for the last week, such and such has been bothering me, has been taking my, lunch or doing this with my snack or my papers. Like, as a parent, like, how does that make you feel when you know your child knows the rules at school and something happens and you're like, I don't want my child to break the rules, but I want him to understand that him being picked on is not tolerable in your eyes?
Right. Well, the way I handle that, if my son comes home, which he actually did about 2 weeks ago, and said that a boy had been bullying him, trying to say ugly things to him, but he said he finally stood up to him, which that's what I would have encouraged him to do, not to be hurtful towards the other person, but to let him know in so many words that he needs to back off and leave him alone. So he handled it on his own, and he just told the boy that he's not afraid of him and he needs to leave him alone because he's not being very kind and he doesn't like it and is disrespectful. So And that's just my son's response is just in with me just telling him about bullying being an ongoing dialogue, so he knew kind of what to do and how to handle the situation. But I guess if it would have been a more severe situation, I may have contacted the teacher and maybe the administration to see why no one knew about this or why it hadn't been addressed.
So since then, has he? Arlen Anderson. So since then, if the problem was to arise again, how would you address it? Because maybe the school doesn't know, so how would it be addressed then?
If it would happen again, I would definitely have to reach out to his teacher to make her aware, to see if she is aware of it, to get some clarification on the situation. If she is aware of it, then I would, of course, want to know, let her know that, it's becoming an issue for him and how can it be resolved. And then I would just trust her to handle it, and hopefully she would. Otherwise, the next step would be I would have to get the administration involved to see why is this continuing to reoccur.
Yeah, because my daughter had an issue with bullying, and it was to the point where I had to get administration involved, because every time, like, her and the little girls in the same class, and the little girl would walk past and she would kind of elbow her, and she'll say stop, and it got to the point where she just started elbowing her back, and she would take her things and say little mean things like nah, 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 that's why you got this and I got that. Nah, nah. So it was to the point where, okay, you being physically and you being emotionally abusive to her. So I did get in contact with the administrators of the school, and they kind of like told the little girl, you're not allowed to see her, you're not allowed to talk to her, you're not allowed to even breathe her way. If you look at her, you're going to be suspended. So I'm glad the topic of bullying is being more talked about, and it's now being taken serious, because children they're taking their lives away because of things like this. Absolutely. And we don't want this epidemic to continue, because our kids, they are our little special angels, and it's up to us as a parent to keep them, safe, worriedless, and keep them happy. And I feel like a child should be able to live a life without feeling like they're going to be bullied.
I agree.
So, Miss Alex, I would like to thank you for this interview. Like I said earlier, this is for class use only. And I just want to thank you for your participation. And you enjoy your day.